Welcome back to March or Die. I'm the Stress Master.
And I am Cainan, also known as Tumor.
And we are here for the second episode of the March or Die TV podcast. We have a special edition for you today. Last week we talked about doing a versus. I've done this before on a previous channel. But this is quite a bit of a different format. I feel like I'm screaming, so let me know if I'm ever too loud there, Cainan, because I don't want to scream. But I have my headphones on, so I can't really hear. But what we're going to do is the year, of course, we picked was 1989. The first and second place was Phantom Regiment in second place, Santa Clara Vanguard in first place. I am taking Santa Clara Vanguard. I've picked my clips. Cainan picked his clips for Phantom Regiment. So what we're going to do is we're going to start off with the different captions. So I've already edited the video so that it would just transition us through. We're gonna start with brass, and then after that's done, we'll kind of stop, kind of give our pitch as to why ours is better. Because remember, you guys are going to be voting on which captions you think won, and I'll put that in the description of the video, and then in the comments, just go ahead and copy that, put that in there, and who you think won each of those captions, and then we'll tally those up. And then next week, we'll see who's the true winner, and then I will give my winner, and then Cainan will give his winner. All right?
Phantom. So yeah, you've laid down a gauntlet there. I will give you that. However, what I will say in defense of Phantom Regiment, first and foremost, is they won brass. They won. They also won brass effect as well, and I think that did so for a reason. Now, that being said, was the 1989 Phantom Regiment brass book particularly challenging? I'd say yes and no. From a technical perspective, it wasn't that hard. But what that was when they did have technical bits from the brass book, they were very exposed. Da 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 da. I mean, you heard those 6 notes at the end of the show, which I think is coming up later in my clips anyway. And if you weren't paying attention, you damn sure were then. The thing about that line, however, when I talk about the line, but about the brass line, is it was just the overall beautiful sonority of the balance of the line. They balanced that line from the tubas on up. There isn't a single moment in that show where you can't hear every single voice clear as day. Granted, there may be a few times where you hear a few voices a little bit too much, but there is not a single point in that show where the quality of every individual section isn't clearly on show. They won brass, and they won brass rightly so, in my opinion. The other thing about that brass line is that there was no throwaway parts. They didn't throw away any sections. Whereas when you listen to Vanguard, and I think maybe with Vanguard, some of the issue may have been around the fact that their show was a lot less pedestrian from a visual perspective. They do miss a lot of miss a lot of end of phrases. So that is my case for the 1989 Phantom Regiment. First place, brass line.
All right. Okay, so having said that, I do appreciate the fact that Phantom Regiment did sound good, but they were barely moving. So you can't.
I have nothing for that.
You can sound good, at least in that section. But I mean, Santa Clara, if you listen to the ba 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 da 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 da, everything was crystal clear, and they're running that entire section. They're running, and then you just have the beautiful moments when they do get to the slower section,
but
and
they
it's
were
just
also rushing.
Slightly, but they were excited because it's such a great part of the show. So
they had 2 bloody years to finish the damn show.
Good point. But I mean,
we did the same thing in freelance. Everybody seemed to do shows for 2 years.
Yeah, pretty much. But when they get to the part that goes bum 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 bum, that's just low beefy brass gloriousness, right? So
now the question I have, Justin, is what were they feeding those mellophones?
I don't know, because they always have strong mellophone lines. Well, in '87 it was the contrabasses. Remember, they're feeding them raw meat. That's another.
They kept them in cages and just chuck slabs of raw steak at them or something.
That's another year we need to discuss. '87 Santa Clara Vanguard.
Oh no, because Garfield won that walking away.
Okay. I don't think so. But that's another year we can talk about. All right, so let's go ahead. So that's why I think Santa Clara should have won. We're going to move on to the next caption. Here we go.
Right. So bearing in mind, 1989 was a I'd say it was really kind of a transitional year for the activity, because if you went back just a couple years, Guards were very much it was all about timing. It was all about equipment work. It wasn't so much about choreography, but it was a lot about things like clean feet. Once we started, I think that the core that really broke the mold for color guard for the activity was the 87 Garfield Cadets. So now we've moved forward a couple of years, and guards are becoming a lot more, look, I'm a 52-year-old fat guy, so what do I know about dance? But it's becoming a lot more fluid, a lot more dance oriented. It's becoming a lot more emotive as well. Now, what I would say, looking at those two guards head to head, I did struggle a little bit with the guard caption, because I probably really only started to understand guard when we started looking into more modern drum corps. So I had to go back and watch these clips a few times. But looking at Phantom, the thing about Phantom was the uniformity of the visual line throughout their entire show. You could really see it in the beginning of that show as well, especially the fact that from a visual perspective, they were the only part of the corps that was actually facing the crowd. The rest of the corps was backfield. They were also the only part of the corps that actually had any color. So you had a palette of white. And granted, it was only one color, but it was a very striking color. It was red. And when you look at the flag work there, was it complicated? Absolutely not. Was it clean? Absolutely, 100%. And was it effective? Yes, it was extremely effective. And then the other thing, of course, there was some of the body work they did there as well. As was pointed out by a very learned friend of mine who is very much more educated with color guard than I, the foot flex that they do in that opening sequence. If you go back and watch it frame by frame, it is literally perfect. Every single one of them is exactly the same. And it is not an easy thing to do, especially being so visually exposed right at the top of the show. So looking at the captions as well, just as a matter of interest. Now, guard was scored different back then. They were scored on their own. So just for argument's sake here, Phantom Regiment took second in guard that year. And Vanguard, who you now have to defend, was fifth. So you tell me why they were better. Go on. They were fifth and not even close.
Oh, well, I don't agree with that at all.
97.5 and 94.5, you go.
Well, I'm going to go because if you watch that, it's more than just that moment, but the whole show, and we are looking at just moments, so we are kind of isolating to the moments that we picked to defend. Look how gorgeous and beautiful that moment was in terms of cleanliness, togetherness. It expands out. The emotion, the emote from each of the guard members was all on point. Yeah, face is up, right? And then that when they zoomed in on that one color guard member, and you can see she is in the moment the entire each second she's in that moment of just, I'm in the show. She's a part of the show. It wasn't just I'm performing a show. I'm in the show. And I think that's the difference for me.
She's an integral part of this being a part of the show.
Yeah. Scores, schmores, but that's why I think Santa Clara should have won. And if you look at the rest of the show, you can see how an integral part the guard plays in that
you frozen
ensemble. You froze too. Did I freeze?
You froze.
Okay, you froze for a second too. Okay, so we're back. But I mean, scores doesn't matter to me. I just know what I like and what I saw, and what you guys like and what you saw, and Santa Clara was better. So let's go ahead and move on.
My take on it, though, is Justin, that we're defending on the standards of 1989.
Yes, that's true.
And if we're defending on the standards of 1989, Phantom Regiment won that caption walking away.
Well, I don't think so. Because if you watch the whole show of Phantom Regiment, they're literally just framing the group the entire time.
Oh, don't kid yourself. The staging of the color guard, that whole show drives me bonkers.
Yep. Santa Clara always had such a great way of integrating the guard into the show. 87, 88, 89, 99, basically every year. So I think they're the masters of integration, and they really kind of, Garfield really started the integration, like he said, back in 87, 88 and stuff like that. But anyway, let's go ahead and move forward to the next caption. Yep. Here we go. I don't need to say anything.
I
don't need to say anything at all. I love Phantom Regiment, but sorry.
You know what though?
Go ahead.
I can't. I can't. This is the one caption. This is the one caption that I can't disagree with, if I'm honest with you. I mean, there was
some cool moment. That was a cool moment. That was a really cool moment.
Down the line was really,
I love
really
that.
cool.
I love that part.
I think Phantom maybe had a few too many notes for that line. So looking at the captions again, Vanguard was now. When we're talking about captions, guys, for those of you that are thinking of captions in today's standards, it's a completely different way that they did captions back then. So you had general effect, brass percussion and visual, and then performance, brass percussion and visual. And there was no separate category for guard, though guard was scored, but not as part of the overall score. It sounds a bit daft. But looking at that, Vanguard in percussion got a 14.9 for general effect. Against a 14.7 for Phantom, which I would agree with. And then performance. Now, this is where, Vanguard 14.9. This is out of a possible 15, by the way. 14.9 to a 14.4. Truth be told, I think that 14.4 was maybe a little bit generous to Phantom. Their percussion wasn't the cleanest, and nor would I say that their book was as particularly demanding as well. So first to a fifth. In percussion performance. I can't defend the indefensible, I'm afraid. And this one here, I have to say, you got me.
And once again, everybody, this is all just in fun. We love both of these groups dearly. Otherwise, we wouldn't even be talking about them. I love Phantom Regiment. And I think the
thing that's easy to forget, Justin, is that 1989, if you were lucky enough to be alive then, and having been at this show, you had Vanguard, you had Phantom, you had Cavaliers, you had Cadets.
Yes.
Blue Devils kind of had a forgettable year that year. But even the Blue Devils show was fun, you know?
Yeah, they had a cool moment.
You had the emergence of Star of Indiana.
Oh, God. Oh, my gosh. Yes, in sixth place.
With that British invasion show. It was such an amazing year. I mean, we were treated to some absolutely amazing drum corps.
Suncoast
and again,
Sound.
It was in that transitional period between old school and new school.
Suncoast Sound, their last year, they deserved to beat us. They were amazingly
they did.
Good.
They started out with
so good.
They started out with a score of 39, something stupid like that. You know,
they were so good. Oh my
possibly
God!
The loudest horn. I tell you what, Suncoast Sound, as I recall, possibly the loudest horn line I've ever heard in my life.
They got third in horns to make it into finals.
And finals, they ended up 9th overall. So yes, they kind of got. They got a little bit of a gift to get in.
Yeah, that's all right. They were great, though. They were great. And they deserved to beat us that year.
Oh, my God. They were so loud.
They were so loud. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and move on to the next caption. Remember, you guys tell us what you guys think in the comments. I'm going to put all these captions down. We have 2 more to go. We have Cool Moment and Cleanliness. So let's go ahead and get going with those. I'll let you
That what you
start.
got?
That's what I
You
got.
want to go? You go. You go.
I'll go ahead and start. Okay, so that move was killer. I love that move when they wind up. They perfectly align it. Now, I'm going to
Wedge was dirty.
I'm going to admit there's some interval issues.
The wedge was filthy.
They were missing a person because they weren't technically overage. So there's a hole.
They were a lot overage.
There's a hole throughout the show, so you can kind of see them in the mellophone section there. But overall though, I mean, look how clean the guard was, the drum line was, because cleanliness can be more than just visual.
And not mentioning their feet.
Yeah, well, there was a cool section when they did that slow down with their feet and they were together. So yeah. So that's what I have to say about that. So tell me what you guys think. Go ahead.
I think you brought a knife to a gunfight here.
Well,
I mean, come on. From a musical cleanliness perspective, was it the hardest thing in the world? No. Was it clean as all get up? Absolutely. And then when you get into the company front and they're going into the high mark time in the company front, you go down that line. It is perfect. It's perfect from end to end.
Yeah.
End to end. I said it earlier. I'll say it again. The strength about Phantom Regiment 1989 that maybe we didn't appreciate at the time was that the moments that they gave us were also super exposed. If any one of those moments was dirty, they ain't the second place corps or the first place.
But
they're nowhere close.
But their demand, honestly, drill-wise, was a lot less.
It was easy. I will give you that. Now, that being said, let's talk about the countered rotating, as we called it in the freelancers, the death block.
Yes, the death block.
Justin and I were talking about this off camera before the show started today, but we did a similar move in freelancers. I say similar because it was nowhere near that clean.
And guess what? I'm going to put it up on the screen as we're talking.
Oh, are you?
So keep going.
Oh, good
yes,
stuff,
you won't see it. You won't see it, but they will.
So we did a similar move in the freelancers, and it was nowhere near as clean. I will be the first person to admit it. But man, when we learned that, we thought, oh my God, we're bringing something really, really cool to the game. We're going to cross over each other at super speed. And then we saw Phantom Regiment, and they did it not once, but twice in the show. And they actually turned it twice in the show. And we were just like, oh my God. But the thing is, again, going back to Exposed, was it 3 times? It was actually 3 times.
Well, because they go past each other. Yes. Reverse it and then go back into each other.
Yes, you're right.
3 times, yeah.
3 times. But again, going back to Exposed, it is so dangerous to do it. Let me rephrase that. It is so dangerous by 1989 standards to do something that visually exposed while wearing white head to toe.
Yep, because you can see everything. You can see body alignment. Every single
little thing.
You can see everything, feet, everything. Okay. Yeah. Last caption. This is cool moments. So, and as per usual, it's going to be the ends of the shows because that's where they're trying to give the most bang at the end. So here we go. I'm going to let you go ahead and start with Phantom.
Okay. So cool moments there. So if anybody saw my right arm going, by the way, I just had a little Starbucks delivery. So it's pumpkin spice season here. Thank you very much. Anyway, Phantom Regiment. First off, when you see the guard member, doing the twirl around with the banner, I don't know what you call it. It's not really a flag, but kind of a trailing banner thing. You kind of knew something was coming up. Now, the da 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 that moment with the high brass, every single high brass player on the field was playing the upper lead part. And Justin, you were there. Mm-hmm. How loud was that?
God, Jesus Christ.
It was piercing.
It was, we'll have to talk about our 89 stories, but that literally, because I think we saw it at semis. We could not see it at finals because we had to get ready for retreat.
Yeah.
So I didn't get to see them. I saw Blue Devils, the famous Blue Devils thing. And I saw Cadets. What? Yeah. Hey, man. Poor guy.
That's a whole different show.
Yeah. But, yes, when I saw it at semis, and I think, honestly, always semifinals is always better than finals because everybody...
I think it always is.
I think it's because everybody's, so driven to get into the finals that when you get into the finals, you kind of relax a notch.
So, I remember 1989 semifinals. What I remember about the show is nothing. I don't remember a damn thing about that show. Finals, I remember every minute. I don't remember a damn thing about semifinals.
Same here. Same here. Go ahead.
But yeah, so Phantom Regiment, that moment again, the high brass from heaven is 6 notes that just made you take notice. 6 notes that made Phantom Regiment a title contender, really, and they were a title contender for years after that. You had those 6 notes, and then when the low brass hit after that chorus, my God, it just got you right in the chest. And then just for good measure, let's throw in a couple of those suicide blocks again, and let's not just cross and turn. Let's bring it back in again. Just So for those of you who may have been paying attention, you can hear somebody in the crowd shout, "Judges, are you watching?" I don't think they were watching. They must not have been because they missed the entire end of that show, in my opinion. Vanguard, however, I love the ending of that show as well. In fact, I think the ending of 89 Vanguard is far better than 88.
Oh, yes.
Much more emotional.
You were there in 88. I wasn't. I just saw it on video, but I think and a lot of people go, well, they did it again, but they completely changed almost everything. The only thing is the same as the melodies, really, because they changed the arrangements. They changed the order in which they did some things. The visual, I think, was better in some ways in 88 in terms of
you remember the lyrics that we gave their ballad?
I don't.
I'm not talking about the fish heads.
Oh, the fish heads.
Here we go with the same old boring ballad.
I always put fish heads, roly-poly fish heads. That's another thing. But anyway, so, I mean, when they're in the backfield making that bird, right? They make the bird, the dove, or whatever it is, the dove. And then they just come in. It's just so gorgeous. It's just so impactful.
You have that art company front. And you just think, can it be more? And then it just ramps up a notch.
They go to the company front. It's almost perfect. They come down. And then you have the magic trick, of course. I mean...
Well, this is the thing I find 89 Vanguard very frustrating from a visual perspective because you honestly look at their feet for the first 10 minutes of that show. They're dirty. That company front, though, the most exposed moment of their show, end to end, clean as a whistle.
Yeah.
Clean as a whistle.
I can't deny that their feet were dirty. Their intervals weren't as tight.
I don't blame that on Vanguard, though. I blame that on kind of do, but I blame that on as an activity, we were changing from straight lines to curvilinears, but we did that in the early 80s, and now we're going to start adding in velocity. And Vanguard 89 was one of those first cores. In fact, I was thinking about them and The only other
Cadets.
corps I can think of in '89 that had similar velocity to Vanguard would be probably Suncoast Sound.
Cadets.
Cadets, yeah.
They're
Cadets,
running. They're
Suncoast
running.
Sound,
They're running.
and strange enough, Crossman.
Yeah. That was another
So-
great. That was another cool show. Yeah, they were in 12th place that year, right?
Took me 12th place. Took me a long time to appreciate that show, but it was
Cool show.
the reason I went back to watch that show again is when I was at Kids Grove in 2016. One of our baritone players I found out marched 89 Crossman.
Oh wow.
So
Very
I
cool.
went back and watched the show, and
One of my
actually, it's a
favorite
really cool
Crossman
show.
shows. I know we're kind of going off tangent. 92. Have you ever watched 92? Such a
It
great
is
show.
in my top 5 all-time favorite drum corps shows.
Such a great show. I don't like Pat Metheny, but I like their execution of it. They did Pat Metheny that year, right? First Circle.
No, that was Songs from Planet Earth.
Okay, sorry, I'm thinking of something else.
Dun, 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 dun.
Yeah.
Sorry for singing.
Yeah. But anyway, so let's kind of wrap this up, so we can kind of get you guys voting here. So, let me see if I can pull the captions up one more time. Let's see if I can pull them up here. So we had brass, we had guard, we had percussion, we had cleanliness, and then a cool moment. So tell me what you guys thought in the comments below. I'm going to put these captions down there so that you can, I'm going to put these captions down there so you guys can score them. So tell us only one per group. So you can't pick both. You can't pick a tie. But I want you to just pick who you thought won those captions. If you need to
Just
go
tell
back and watch
Justin
it
why
again.
I'm right.
Yeah, okay. But we'll discuss who we think are true. I mean, I think we kind of know who our true winners are. You guys can kind of tell by our discussion here. But I'll give my true opinion on next week's podcast about that. You have some news though, right?
Yeah, a little bit. There's not much going on right now, truth be told. It's that time of the year where there isn't a whole lot going on. All the corps, if you look, are looking for. They're putting out all of their audition information. There was one thing I was looking for in specific. Just bear with me 1 second.
A lot of staff reveals.
A lot of staff reveals. What we're tending to find is that staff aren't really moving around much, which every year on Drum Corps Planet we have a thread called the Staff Merry-Go-Round, and it's usually a very active thread. It's actually quite a quiet thread for us this year. I know we're waiting on a big reveal from Blue Stars because they're putting out a lot of cryptic messages using Japanese writing.
Yeah, I saw that.
I'm wondering now. I know that historically they do tend to get a lot of Japanese members, so I'd be interested to find out what that is about. But as far as actual news items, outside of staff more or less staying put, there's really not much going on right now. I mean, we could talk about Vanguard, but I'd rather wait on Vanguard and cadets as far as the financials and stuff. I would much rather wait until we actually have something concrete to actually even comment on them.
Yes. Thank you guys so much for joining us. We truly appreciate it. This is our second episode. Thank you guys for making the first episode.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thank you guys so much for watching that. And if you have not watched the first episode, go back. It's going to be up in the corner somewhere over here, I think. And you can
some quite insightful comments on that thread, on that first episode as well. I thought,
if you do say so yourself, and I say so myself. So, yes, we. But the whole goal of this podcast is we're just two old dudes. Both of us have marched. Both of us have taught. We've been around the block a little. I've taught, God, I can't even tell you how many dozens of groups I've taught. And the activity still, to me, is always changing and evolving. So I think it's great that we're able to discuss it. And we're not grumpy old men, I don't think. I think we're cognizant of, because you've marched in modern drum corps. In HOC. So you march modern drum corps. I've taught modern band, which is very much like drum corps. I mean, it's the same exact thing. I wish we had a senior corps here I could march, because I would have loved to march. I know that when we had the Renegades, I had an opportunity to march there, but I just couldn't do it. I couldn't go to the Bay Area. I was working. I just couldn't do it. But,
oh yeah, and when you talk about modern drum corps, I mean, the demand is just completely different. Whereas both have their pluses and minuses. You know, Do I prefer the sound of a G horn line? Yes, I do. I will readily admit that. That being said, I played B flat, and I liked B flat as well. You know, I like trombones on the field. I don't think you actually much like trombones. I do. But the nice thing though is that we can also look at it and appreciate that. Well, you know what? I may not like that particular part of something. I can appreciate the effort that went into it and the fact that it was performed well.
Yeah. Well, that's another discussion we're going to talk about is trombones on the field at some point. But anyway, so thank you guys so much for joining us. Really do appreciate it. Please make sure you subscribe if you have not done so. And
don't forget to like.
Yes, don't forget to like the video because that's also
important.
Helps as well. And then share. Sharing is caring. If you share the video, that helps us get out there as well. But thank you all so much. We'll see you guys on the next one. Once again, I'm the Stress Master.
And I'm the Tumor.
And remember to march on.
March or die.